Okay, so this might be the first tussle. I don't know. It might just be me and my 2 shots of vodka, 50 proof, misreading you. But you said just now that you're looking for someone to counter the narrative, the pro-Hillary narrative, the anti-Sanders narrative. Is that correct? That's what you sort of you're pining for right now.
Well, what I'm saying is that there are not there are, in the mainstream media, and I hate to use that word because it's overused by Fox News, but in the establishment media, I would say they're about 90% in bed with Hillary Clinton. And so, yes,
Okay.
there needs to be more mainstream voices that are giving at least an unbiased position of
Okay.
facts. Go
All
for
right.
it.
Cool. So let me ask you. Who do you have in mind? And I'm only saying this in direct response to you saying, I believe yesterday, or at least the day of the forum, for the layman, the Commonwealth Sanders supporters to stand down. That's explicitly what you said
Hmm.
a day or two ago. So I want to know, if not the common folk, if not the grassroots in particular, and I might be mischaracterizing that,
Hmm.
who, if anyone, would you have in mind to support Bernie Sanders to the mainstream media,
I think
please?
you may have. I think you missed, or I did not hear the complete picture from the other day. PJ is like one of the few people I actually give room to push back like this. PJ, this is my show, all right. But good question, and I want to make sure people didn't, no one else misunderstood me. In particular, I'm not talking to any type of layman. I think everyone is qualified to argue the stuff that they're qualified to argue over. So in my world, there's no such thing as a layman. Everyone has their particular expertise. What I am saying is that there is a nefarious rhetorical technique, and I'm choosing those words very specifically for a reason. There's a really negative rhetorical technique that is being used against anyone who is not black, saying something either positive about Bernie Sanders' civil rights history or dare challenging anyone who's black. I don't think for a second that it is true that white people or people who are not black don't have anything substantive to say about Bernie Sanders' civil rights history or a valid critique of some Black Lives Matter. What I am saying is that it is such a manipulative technique that is being played right now that it is in the strategic best interest that those voices don't even engage. Don't even engage some of the Black Lives Matter people, because it is always going to be turned on you, because that is the political, manipulative, rhetorical game that they have crafted out, particularly against Bernie Sanders supporters. So let's just make it really clear. White people who say something bad about Black Lives Matter, particularly Bernie Sanders supporters who are white that say something bad about Black Lives Matter, are being manipulated into being these villainous people, no matter how valid what you have to say is. And if we know that's their technique, then we need to beat them at their technique and say, okay, let's not give them anything that's going to hurt Bernie Sanders anymore. What we need to do is find other people who can speak up about it. But to your original question, I'm never would say that the average person needs to stand down to a general conversation. I'm being very specific in that a white person who says something to a black person on Twitter or social media, that is blown out of proportion, particularly with regard to Bernie Sanders, so much so that it's a manipulative game. And I think the best way to beat them at that game is to not engage them.
Okay. In response, let me. I'll concede to the point that um, the aristocrat vodka I drank made me forget that there was a racial component to what you said
Hmm.
about that it was specifically about the Black Lives Matter movement. So
Hmm.
my fault, I forgot. And at the same time, I also want to give you a sort of positive note that something I saw on TYT earlier today was that actress Susan Sarandon actually went on to CNN and endorsed Bernie Sanders. And of course, in the same way that Cuomo fought Mr. Sanders himself on this, the reporter that she was that Miss the reporter that Susan Sarandon was talking to was all about the comebacks and the pushbacks and the retorts.
Hmm.
Saying, well, he's a socialist and raising taxes. Some people would say, that sort of common establishment sort of fight.
Right.
So I just want you to know that there is some support out there, and you were
Now,
right with what you said. So I just want to give that.
Yeah, it's the vodka, man. It's the vodka. You can't come to the show with 2 shots of vodka. I'm the only. Well, I don't know. I think some other people
I'm
might.
about to make it 3 because I'm catching up to your 4.
Let's take this caller real quick. Caller, you're live on the air.